Brian Stevens here with Mortgage Shots. I got Frank Garay. You guys might know him from the Marketing Animals. Hey, listen, today we're going to talk about a couple of things, Frank. We have the New Year that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to make a New Year's resolution.
Right.
How do you feel about New Year's resolutions?
I don't do them. I'm over it.
But don't you think that would it serve a purpose for your business to make a New Year's resolution?
Well, if you're talking about no. I mean, if you're looking at from the business perspective, doing the business plan, at the Marketing Animals, we got the one pager, that you can go through and just really concisely lay out a pretty clear plan and a path of things I'm going to start doing, things I'm going to stop doing, the goals, that kind of a thing. Sure. I think that's good. I think it, what it comes down to, brother, is it just comes down to, having that moment of revelation where, you're just going to go, okay, I'm really going to do it and do it. We had a guy in Breakfast Club today. Last year in December closed 3 loans. This December is closing 15, and when we asked him how, what's going on, and it was 8 months ago, he just finally just decided, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to commit to the 2 hours of prospecting a day, Monday through Thursday. I'm not going to let anything get in the way of it. I'm going to buckle down and get it done. And the results are there, right? But I think you got to have a New Year's resolution or 2025 business plan or whatever. Obviously, the only way it's going to work is with the commitment to do it, the revelation that you have to actually do it. And above all, you know this as well as I do because we've done it, is consistency and discipline, is what makes anything work. And so I guess to answer that question, I'd say, sure, man, from a business perspective, yeah, no, from, going from 200 to, 160, it ain't going to happen. I could wish it all I want. It ain't going to happen.
It's kind of the same though, isn't it? I mean, it's the same type of discipline that we apply to ourselves, which you say fails all the time, is the same mindset. We're not a different person applying a different mindset to our business. It all kind of runs together, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess you could say it does. I think when it comes, for me anyway, I can't speak for everybody, right? For me anyway, from a business perspective, I'll put a little more weight on that than I will on, my belly.
No pun intended. I'm going to put some weight on my business and take some weight off my belly.
But actually, I want to put some weight on the belly. And I'm not kidding myself anymore,
It's funny. I just had a conversation with Carl a few minutes ago, and we talked about we had similar questions. And I think what I concluded was, I think a New Year's resolution would be to stick with it. What is it? Marketing's like diets; they all work, but it's sticking with it's the hard part, I think.
True.
And here's a question I asked Carl, and I don't want this to come across as jaded, but does it really just all come down to just calling your past clients? I mean, we talk about a million different types of marketing. We're in the business of selling marketing and great fancy ideas and bells and whistles. But if you were to strip it all away, does it just really just come down to picking up your phone and being disciplined enough to make those calls?
That's what I'm seeing. I mean, I've been in this coaching program for 3.5 years with Carl White and with all these people and watching what happens. And so I would say the answer to that is, yeah, that seems to be what it really boils down to. Look, man, like I've interviewed lots of people. So have you. I've interviewed people, real estate agents included, where somehow, brother, they're making a living off of YouTube. Somehow they are. Like they've figured it out. They put in the time, the effort, figured all that stuff out, and have found a way to, get some business out of YouTube or Facebook or these types of things, right? So that's possible, right? It's completely possible. It is. But I've also clearly seen that if you want to get it done faster, right? Fast and good, have something of substance to it. Yes, it comes down to talking for a loan officer. It comes down to building relationships with what we call qualified agents, agents that have business, right? And then the past client database is huge. Even on today's call, the gentleman who was on, his name's Scott Bell, he was saying, man, the past client database, I think that's 40% of his business right now. And it was just, he wasn't working it well enough. And now he is, right? He's made that turn to where he's working that past client database much better. But yeah, I would say the answer to that, it really does come down to that. There's other things you can do. We should have multiple tentacles. We should, experiment with things, right? But at the end of the day, the phone call and asking for the business, which you and I are no strangers to, right? To performing real estate agents and to your past client database sphere of influence, that's where the money is. It's what it seems to me.
I spoke with Carl and I said, well, what about our CRMs and shooting videos and all that stuff? He goes, that's all fine. He goes, do that afterwards. He goes, start with your calls, and soon enough, you'll realize you don't need all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's true. Or that other stuff has its place. It's afterwards, and you still can do it. It's good for presence, right? It's good for, being out there. Gosh, Facebook custom audiences, one of the most brilliant things I've ever learned at Marketing Animals. I do it. And it's just a way to get your face in front of your past clients and only your past clients, or the realtors that you're calling on and only the realtors you're calling on. It's not a wasted red cent in that, and they just see you and you're just there, So
now, I think one of the things is, Frank, and see if you can answer this. There's two moments to me. It's like there's the moment of the little germination moment where a real estate agent is going to pick Frank or Brian. They like us both, but they got a client and they say, I like Frank, I like Brian. What's going to tip the scale there? That's one of them. But the other thing, which is wildly important that people really they overlook it, like how can we influence that moment? But the other moment is, and I've suffered this before, I'm sure every salesperson has suffered this, is when you hear somebody like yourself or somebody like Carl or really any one of these great speakers, you have the winds of encouragement in your sale. You do. You go to an event and you hear all these great speakers and you're like, shit, you leave there and you're super motivated and you find yourself Monday sitting at your desk by yourself, and those winds of encouragement are no longer in your sail and you're bobbing around in the water. The second part of that is like, Mike Ballinger, when we built our place up the hill, he just wrote down all the wood we needed to get, and then, Meeks delivered enough wood to fill his entire driveway, and Mike goes, well, we've got the hard part done. I said, what do you mean the hard part? He goes, well, the wood's here. Got to do something with it now. And he meant it. That was the hard part, is getting the wood. Building the place was nothing. It's that moment, Frank, that moment when I am back at my office and that all that great, the roar of the crowd is no longer there, and I'm sitting there in silence, and I'm paralyzed, and I don't know what that very first step to take is. What's that first step to take to get the ball rolling down the hill?
Motivation, right, is great, but discipline trumps it every single time, right? So motivation's cool, though, because it does inspire. It's like, okay, at least motivation is probably the result of seeing something and believing it's at least possible, right? It's like, I believe this is possible now, so I have this motivation.
Motivation doesn't trigger action.
It doesn't. So I think, what triggers action is you got to have the belief first that it's possible, right? And you have to have the desire, right, to at least start. But I would say what's very helpful in it is if you can connect yourself to a community that is in it with you, that's with you, so that if you can at least get that first step of logging onto that Zoom call where there's 50 other people just like you, and we're saying, okay, team, here's our script. You got your lists. We're going to mute the Zoom. We're going to make our calls. Let's talk in the chat. If you got an objection you got to overcome, you need some help, put it in there, share your wins, but let's all do this thing together. I think that piece helps with the discipline, and it helps with getting the ball rolling, having that community of others who are doing the same thing. We're all doing it together. So I'm not all alone on an island, right, by myself. I'm with a group of people. That's with Animals. You have Call Stars. It's been a huge hit. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, and it's been just a massive game changer. Carl calls it a needle bender. It really is. Even the guy today who went from 3 to 15. At the end? What's your suggestion? And he said, Call Stars. Get on Call Stars, because you're there with other people, and it helps motivate you. You experienced this way back in the day when it was the end of the world. It was another end of the world episode in the mortgage industry, one of the many, right? So it was the end of the world. Everybody was dying, and but you had your best year ever. And you had your best year ever because you got together with a group of people in an office. This was physically getting together now. I don't remember how many people you had in there, 10, something like that. 10 agent realtors were in there with you, and you were in there, and you all had your list, and you all had your numbers, and you were all calling together. And results came out of that like no other. Like, it was incredible. Like, you were having your best year ever. Everybody else was quitting the business, and you were having your best year, But I think it was because and if you guys haven't heard this before, I swear to you, I saw this with my own eyes. Real estate agents were faxing their resumes. That tells you the date. Faxing their resumes to Brian saying, can I please come down and sit in that room with you guys and make those phone calls? there was something about that created that discipline to do it night after night after night after night after night. But I think community is a big piece of that. And then the other question you asked was, is a realtor likes me, likes you, right? Has a deal.
At that moment, they're picking up their phone.
Right.
Like, am I dialing Brian or am I dialing Frank?
Right.
How do we tip the scales?
I think the way you tip the scales is who are they hearing from the most, and I think that's it. Who are they hearing from the most? If you're that guy, who is definitely calling, at least once a week, just checking in, seeing how they're doing, seeing if they need any help with anything and letting them know that you're there. If they got any pre-approvals and need help that they need help with, if you're that person that's, again, consistent once a week, chances are, if the other person's not, right? Now, if they are the same, then I don't know, man. Between you and me, probably go to you. You're a better looking guy, right? So you're going to win with the looks, okay? Yeah. But if they're not as consistent as me, then I'm probably going to get the call just because I just got off the phone with them 2 days ago.
The truth is the bar's pretty low on that.
Very low.
Your average loan officer is not calling their agents on a weekly basis if they don't have a deal in hand.
That's completely true. Right.
What do you say? What do you say when you call the agent?
You don't really have to say anything. When you call on like a Monday, for me, it's always just been, hey, how's it going? Just checking how'd the weekend go? How was your weekend? I was great. Yeah. How'd you do? Cool. All right. Well, anything I can help you with? Need any help with anything? Not right now. Okay. Well, don't hesitate to think of me. Can I count on you for the next one? Sure, yeah. Frank. Great. Have a great day. See you. Bye. That's it, man. You're there. You're just always there, Now, we do other things as well, right? So if there's active deals, they're getting a call on Tuesday. If we have pre-approved lookings with them, they're going to call on Thursday. So they might be hearing from me twice a week. They might be hearing from me 3 times a week, right? Whereas the typical LO, they may only hear from that person via email, you know what I mean, once a week, not even a phone call.
Is a call more important than a text or an email?
100%. I believe so, yeah. Even if it goes to voicemail, just leave the voicemail. Leave the voicemail. I believe voicemails are like putting marketing equity into a little bank, right? You're dropping in there, and the voicemails are kind of cool because you can kind of have a little freedom to just kind of say what you want to say on the voicemail. You know what I mean? You can be funny with it,
as long as you're not saying "and another thing."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's what I'm getting from this: is discipline is going to trumps motivation all the time.
Always.
So if you find yourself sitting there, what you have to do is you have to force yourself. You have to be disciplined enough to pick up that phone.
Right.
What I'm hearing is community, which, by the way, all these points I 100% agree with. When you have community, it makes it easier. I've always said this when you're making those calls. I put it in the context of cold calls. When you have that jerk who, responds to you on a call and says something nasty to you, when you're alone, you internalize it. When you're
right.
A group, it becomes a moment of levity that kind of diffuses itself.
Right.
And when somebody succeeds, everybody succeeds. So community, I think, is huge. And if you have the discipline and the community and the consistency and the persistence to do this, you can create an island of success. And that island of success, it's light, and people are attracted to it. And light is going to get you more business and a compounding effect.
Yes.
These are all, and if this sounds too easy and we want something that's much fancier, more bells, more whistles, more automation, go ahead and do that. Start with this. And soon, I agree with what Carl said earlier, you'll find that those bells and whistles that we think are so important to our business right now are probably not as important as we thought. Is that
true?
Right?
It does. I would say this too, man, one of the biggest revelations I had with learning, Carl's methodology behind marketing and business and getting deals in the door. One of the biggest revelations I had was where he was like, man, if you want an orange, would you rather plant an orange seed or just go up to a mature orange tree that has oranges on it and pick them? I was like, I'd just rather do that. And his, what he was obviously talking about there was when it comes to, if I'm going to make calls to a real estate agent, understand who I'm calling first. Get the list. These days it's so easy to get a list of real estate agents with their production. You want to look for agents that have production, like in the past 12 months, maybe they've had 8, 10, 12 buy-sides. There's an agent that has the ability to provide me with a referral, right? Because they're doing it, and I know a lot of people say, well, new agents become superstars too. 100% agree. I know that, Brad, we have seen it. We've helped make them, and loan officers, but that would not be my 2-hour window of, focused prospecting. That would be something that I do outside of that, you know what I mean? And help in some way. We've had a handful of originators take the call stars concept and bring it to a real estate office, right? Or a real estate, where they have multiple offices and say, hey, man, you know as well as I do, Mr. Broker, because they do, that they should be calling and asking for the business, and they will say, yes, you're right. But then offer them the accountability. Hey, I'm willing to do a call, what we call a call stars thing. Like we could do once a week. We can all jump on a Zoom call together. Whoever's interested, I can help script them up. We can make sure we're making the calls. We're asking for the business. We can do this, right? So that's something that you could do outside of those 2 hours where I'm making my direct calls, but I know who I'm calling. I'm calling agents that I know got the business, right, on that. But then maybe on a Wednesday afternoon, outside of those calls, I have something like this for a real estate team or multiple teams where, I'm helping to cultivate some people and help bringing them up a little bit. I'm planting the orange seed, right, and watering a little bit, But because the nice thing is they get deals too. You know what I mean? They're going to come across a deal if you got them out there calling, just like you experienced, right? If you got them calling, they'll pick up deals too. But yeah, I think
we remember we did that. I would get groups in like Seattle and down in Tampa and in Vacaville, and we'd get on a Zoom and we would all start calling. So we would have regions of the country.
I remember that. Yeah. Same thing. Exact concept, right? So do it together, and deals pop out. They pop out. There is room for that. There's room for that. But if I'm going to make sure, the one thing I'm going to make sure I'm going to do my 2 hours of calling a day, 4 days a week. First thing I'm going to do is make sure I got a list. And then I've heard it said too by people, well, man, I searched my list, and then there's only like 11 real estate agents in my area that qualify for this. It's like, well, you're licensed in the whole state. So
yeah, that's interesting.
You can get a bigger cup, and you can get a bigger market area.
That was kind of my revelations when I got back into loans, Frank, was it's basically if I could drive there in 5 minutes, that was a viable agent. But if I couldn't, it wasn't really my market. But people have adapted to, there's one thing with COVID, like it accelerated the whole Zoom type of, platform where people are doing video conference calls. I mean, people did it before, but it made it a daily occurrence. It made it a normal form of communication.
Yeah.
It really accelerated that. And getting back into loans post-COVID, it's just as easy for me to communicate with somebody 700 miles away down in San Diego as it is for me to talk with somebody in Vacaville, California.
100%.
Away.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to their office and they're not coming to mine. So what does it matter if they're 2 miles away or 2,000 miles away? It really doesn't matter.
It doesn't. We had a guy on Breakfast Club. This goes back a couple of years, and he was hilarious. But he was doing loans in Tennessee or something, right? But he lived in like Fiji or something.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding. Like he wasn't even near it. Like, but everything was just Zoom and over the phone and online and internet. You know what I mean? And he was very successful, closing plenty of loans, but was nowhere near that. Today it's just a completely different thing. And dude, you can go even further. Like with Starlink and all that, you got Josh Pitts running around there on a catamaran. Okay, living on a catamaran right now, doing business. Megan Anderson running around, living the van life, traveling the country, working because she has Starlink. It's just, that's the way it is these days. It doesn't matter where.
It's affordable and it's faster than your internet. It's faster than the internet we're using right now.
Yeah.
The other thing, Frank, is I had a loan officer I was looking at his business I was really interested in because he was consistently closing 7-8 deals per month. That's solid loan officer.
Heck yeah.
And he was in Minnesota, and so I started looking at other offices in Minnesota because I was getting some resistance, and so I looked up the other loan officers in his office, and of course I went to the MMI, the Redder type of sites that you
sure yeah.
And he was the low producer in that office. Like every loan officer in there was doing 14, 15 deals per month.
Wow.
And I started looking at this and I'm going, you know what? I'm like, Minnesota has a very favorable loan officer to realtor to client ratio. So your average loan officer there, they just don't have as many licensed loan officers. And as a result of that, there's just more deals to pick up. And so
makes sense.
They're living fatter over there. So, one thing I've looked at in California, and I'd urge other people to do this too, is like, I'm looking at like the Central Valley. So like picture California, it's the valley that's right in the middle, not at the top, not at the bottom, right in the middle of the state. And it starts up at Sacramento and it goes down to like Bakersfield. And it's all the cities along that corridor that goes 400 miles. And I'm like, well, I think that's the most fertile ground that I could till. So as a loan officer, if we're going to look outside of our, don't even look outside of the state, but look at different pockets in your state and find out where you think the best opportunities are for the loans that you want to write, and get on the phone and start hammering this stuff. I mean, you could be strategic about it.
Yeah, and find the ones that are producing in those areas. You know what I mean? Find them, and see what's going on. But it's all good stuff, man. It's interesting. I'm wildly curious to see where 2025 goes. The new administration and everything. Just like, wow, this is going to be an interesting. Go. What do you got?
Either really good or really bad. I don't think Trump's just going to level things out. It's going to go right down the middle. I think things are going to go great, or it's just going to go bitter. One of the two.
What do you think about rates?
I don't. Actually, I don't. I come from, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I come, as do you, I come from a market where selling sevens was the norm.
Yeah.
Like, I think for a decade, I think when I saw a 6 for the first time, I almost fell out of my chair.
Yeah.
If you look at historic norms for a long enough period of time, we're actually below the curve. Like, rates right now aren't bad. Home prices are bad. That's what's bad. Rates really aren't that bad right now. But listen, everything is a cycle. I don't care. Like, I can give you a million different reasons why things are going to go right and a million reasons why they can go wrong. And every other prognosticator can do the same thing. And really it's mud against a wall type of thing. What I do know is every graph I looked at goes like this. No matter what's going on in the world, it goes like this.
Right.
And right now we know we're here.
Yeah.
So something is going to make it go here.
Yeah.
And all we can do is we could either try to project and forecast what's going to take place, which I have absolutely no control over, nor do you, or we could just try to get our own house in order. And that's the thing I can control, is getting my house in order. And when I get my house in order, then I can go ahead and I can strike when the market turns. And outside of that, there's really no other options.
You know what I'm working on right now is trying to just get more focused on fewer things. My big problem is, and I think this, we worked together for so long. Oh, yep. God, dude. I see opportunity in everything. You know what I mean? It's like, let's work on that, and let's work on that, let's work on that, let's work on that. And then the next thing you know, you're not working on anything very well. You're kind of working on 5 things, and that's just not the way to be successful. You really need to work on the one thing and work on it really, really well and do it that way. So that's my 2025 is really barreling it, narrowing it down to that one thing and really, really working on it, hard.
The fewer, the better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody could learn from that too. That's an important thing to know.
Well, I think that's a great place to stop it here, Frank. This was a really great conversation.
Yeah, it was fun. Always good to talk to you.
And how do you like that new motorcycle?
I'm out of control on that thing. Like, it's getting bad. Just accessorizing and just putting the cool, dude, my whole thing is cool. It has to be cool, right? I'm such a poser. I'm absolutely the BMW GSA guy that has all the off-road badass looking stuff all over the bike, and I go straight to Starbucks and have my latte. You know what I mean? And sit and admire my motorcycle and then drive it home.
In your defense, most of those bikes are pretty tricked out. That's why you buy them. They're fun.
No, but
alrighty, bud. Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I'm gonna let you go, get back to your job, and let's make sure we get together during this holiday season. Maybe
let's go for a ride, man.
Let's do it.
All right, man. All right, see you, bud. All right, see y'all. Bye.